ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Are you recovered enough to do the show yet?
Ow! This thing
I'm
is
not
painful.
surprised. You really shouldn't keep things like that in captivity. I mean, we're going to have to explain this later, and there'll be questions and licenses and everything. It's going to be so problematic.
It's back, but it still keeps trying to get out. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And it just...
It's going to.
Maybe the WildStar will deal with that bit later. Safe.
It'll, hopefully. You have got that thing tethered up, yes? Meanwhile, on with episode 31 of WildStar Mania. We'll be explaining the strange background noises shortly, possibly, if any of us survive long enough. But there has been quite a lot going on in the last few weeks in the world of WildStar, but before we kick things off, we're down to 2 this week.
We are.
We're not quite sure where the others have got to, but we'll work on that one.
Well, I survived. I survived being run over by roused hours. I don't think Gazzy survived the scientific experiments of the Lops. I think, however, Kai was kidnapped by one of the strain.
Yeah, that would all make sense. Clearly. So, Pseudo, how are things in WildStar land? Now, I know you have been running around being far too busy. How is it going?
I've been leveling slowly. I've tried to promise myself that if nothing else, I would enjoy the leveling experience, because some people don't like, obviously, the typical questing experience that comes from WildStar. I happen to be okay with it and enjoy it, and I'm more interested in the story. And might I add, for all of you awesome people that are out there, do you know what day it is? Do you?
Do we get background music and pennants and flags and things now?
Now. Do you know what day it is, Mizpah?
I do.
What day is it?
Friday.
Leave it to Mizpah.
You asked a question, I gave you an answer.
Okay, here is the dealio, folks. Happy Starfall.
Indeed.
That's if you're exiled.
I'm going to say, as celebrated differently. Was it Founders Day? Founding Day, if you're... on
a Dominion.
The smelly side?
Yeah, if you're on the side that stinks and it bit me again. Yes. So, happy Starfall Day.
Or indeed, or as Auntie Snow says, Will Smith apparently saved the planet from aliens today. A point also that is well worth remembering.
So did Jeff Goldblum. Don't forget him. He's the one who made it possible.
True. Now, a bunch of things to look at and talk about. We have a few things. There's been a little bit of, let's start from the top. We've been able to run around in the new zones with all things that are strain-related.
Have you heard the story of the strain train?
The strain train?
Yes, the strain train.
Come on then, elaborate. Let's have the story of the strain train.
Okay, so there is this new boss that appears called Scourgewing. And it's basically a raid boss, open world kind of a deal. And Dominion get together and the Exiles, everyone can be in the same place. And it can be a really, really frightful place if you're in a PvP server. But if you're on a PvE server, something crazy takes place. I think many people get infected from the strain that they've run into. And what ends up happening is a couple of people from one particular guild, hey Enigma, had decided to train and put each other on follow and walk in a circle while waiting for this boss to actually spawn. This train ended up something like 50, 60, 70 people long. And people were doing strain, and it was the strain train. There are pictures. So yes, let's just say that I think most of our guild members have been affected with the strain in some way. They've gone slightly mad.
Well, they were probably quite mad to start with, but I'm sure it's probably gotten worse. And if you and your guilds, the people you're running around with in whichever capacity are getting up to hijinks or various antics, we would like to hear about it. We'd like the photos, we'd like to know what's going on. And indeed, if we can get an intrepid reporter from World Boss Spawnings on a PvP land location, we might want to hear about what's going on there as well. But as well as strain content, actually launching 2 new zones to go and explore, another adventure to do, more dailies to do, good and bad. There's other news as well. Not all of it's so great. There's been a few problems with payments.
Yes, this is an interesting one. I remember someone mentioning in Guild just going, oh, looks like they took the first payment for WildStar, because when you buy the box set, you get a month free. And most of us had pre-ordered and were in there 3 days in advance anyway. But it was like, great, so the payments are starting. And then Reddit, forum posts, messages, people tweeting, oh no, what happened, Miz?
Well, it seems that their payment processor couldn't quite handle the load. Now, that might not be fair on the payment processor. At the end of the day, you've got the whole community of WildStar saying, and bill me now. And these things go into a queue.
Take my
so
money. We're still having problems throwing money at the screen.
Well, some people are having more or less problems than others, because it seems to be that it's a queue that processes X people per hour. And simply put, the number of people trying to get a payment processed between now and the cutoff versus the number they could process in the time, well, it just wasn't matching up. So they had people whose payments had expired, who have a pending payment, who've been told, no, we don't like you, you can't play. That's not a very good thing to be saying to people. They're actually actively trying to pay your game. Now, fair to form, like we probably would expect now, people did swing into action pretty quickly. There's a post up from Cougar, and indeed some comments from Anlath on the forums, and they have used what has been elegantly described as a cudgel to try and fix the issue. Now, it's been described as a cudgel, not a fix, because it's not a perfect solution. From what I can make out, maybe people here can tell me, whether they've simply allowed all of those with a payment pending to play, or whether they've simply flicked a switch and extended everybody's playtime to make sure they don't actually pick up on those that are trying to pay, not quite sure. But if you're getting the message in game saying your game time has expired, well, you're still in game when you're getting it, so you're still able to play. You can't, however, post on the forums. Now, this is not some sneaky Big Brother move. It's not some way to stop you complaining. Hey, there's Reddit for that. But it seems to be that it's two different systems. So they've thrown a cudgel in the works of one, while they're playing catch-up with the payment provider.
To quote Memory
Pseudo,
Dump, it's not a cudgel, dear, it's a kludge. What they've done is kludge, which is a very technical term for those of you who are involved in any form of technological discovery, advancement, or manipulation and working within the technological world. You know that the kludge is a very technical term, preceded by white papers across the country and, research by doctors in various big-known, well-known universities.
I'm still thinking there's a cudgel. I've got this picture of our WildStarian friends standing there battering this thing. It's just, too amusing to let go of in terms of image.
Are you a violent by nature?
Me, I'm calm and passive and never ever violent. Apart from that one time, and only 37,000 people died. Anyway, moving on. What? I'm sweet, cute, peaceable, kind, not at all violent.
Sure.
Never ever in a bad mood.
Of course. Of course.
So, what do they need to do about it? Well, clearly they seem to be working their way through payments, but a few other issues have appeared at the edges. It does seem some people are being billed more than once, and it does seem that there is an issue actually where it's tricky to upgrade your sub. You actually need to, let's say you've got a 1-month sub running and you need to switch it, or want to switch it to a 1-year sub. You actually need to cancel the first one before implementing the second one. So it's a fact that's thrown a few people out. Yes. Now, for anyone out there that does get caught up in the, hey, I've had my money taken too many times, they're being very clear that they will sort that out. You just need to get in touch with them and let them know. Hopefully it's not affecting too many people out there.
Well, anytime people's money gets touched, it seems to get into a sticky situation, which is, people are going to have to be patient. I think in the end, if something ends up happening where, they're trying to implement systems, we know that they've gone a step beyond and above what they were originally planning or originally implementing with a lot of MMOs, because if you have an authenticator attached to your account, you've pretty much learned the value of never closing your authenticator ever. And you've also learned the value of using a mouse instead of a keyboard to type in various things. But, they're doing everything they can. It does require a little bit of patience, and it can be incredibly frustrating. But how they're reacting to it, in my opinion, is the start. I mean, they're not hiding behind any man behind a curtain going, oh, nothing's going on. They're being very blunt. We have a screw up, and this is what's happened. We're trying to work through it. Please be patient. And I hope people do that. I just like the communication side of things. That to me just makes me a happy bunny. Lopzilla, whatever.
I think as long as people don't actually get kicked out of the game too much when they shouldn't be, because that'd be frustrating. They seem to be erring on the side of caution. They seem to be allowing people the benefit of the doubt and that extra time online. As long as they keep doing that, there shouldn't be too many issues. Now, I don't know whether anyone here has been affected by it. If anyone has, speak up. Let us know.
I don't know yet. I actually haven't had a chance to check, so I can't tell you whether I've been impacted by the big scary monster that is known as the payment bug, but there you go.
Yeah, not everyone is so forthcoming and open. It does help. It's a double-edged sword. We get to see things and go, really? You got that wrong? But at the end of the day, we don't yet know. Is it actually the payment processor not processing the volume that was expected? Is it something in the connection between the two? Did someone just not plan something?
I'd like to believe that WildStar is so insanely popular that their minds were blown and the system was set up to handle X amount, and what they ended up was X to the power of X. And they're sitting there going, what do we do? And I'd really like to think that's what's really going on, because you can only have so much information passed across copper wires and fiber, so...
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's the case. We don't know. We do know from what we've been told that they are, above where they thought they were going to be, but no numbers have been attached to that. So we don't know what they're expecting yet. So we're still hoping to get more information on that as time goes on.
We did get a little bit of a drop, just letting us know that they exceeded their own expectations internally,
we did,
which is a lovely thing to hear, especially for some of us who have been literally looking for a home in MMOs for a very long time. So.
Indeed. Now, I want to move on to another piece of news, and that is the Squidora.
Oh,
now, the first thing I have to say...
Okay, this is the squid. This is basically your face hugger. And I'm going to go ahead and put the face hugger on the screen so people can see the face hugger. The face hugger is there. Nope, there. And
I'm going to let people know this currently means we have an unhappy Mizpah.
Yes, this actually surprised me. I didn't expect it to piss off Mizpah, but it is. It has, and it has set off a little bit of a fire. So what I am going to do is I am going to push this thing back into the test tube that it's trying to escape from and let Mizpah have a soapbox. And welcome to the show, by the way. Hello, Ryakachi and Memory Dump and Silicone and Vina. Totally should have said hello earlier, but we totally got off on the fact
and hello to Pinky, and hello to lots of others.
Yes, all the names that have scrolled past that I have unfortunately missed. Hello and welcome to the Cosmotronic. Go ahead, Mizpah. You are allowed a soapbox while I play.
Oh, now why is it the Squidora has actually upset me a little? Well, on the surface they're doing something really cool and really quite good. Hey, tell you what. Guys, girls, everyone that's subbed, everyone that's got a retail, not even true, everyone that's got a retail key on their account before a certain date, guess what? We're giving you one of these. It's great, free stuff, and hey, it's pretty cool. It's not my thing. I don't want to run around looking like that, but I can appreciate it for what it is. But the downside is they've actually taken it from somewhere else. Now, unbeknownst to many people, that is actually called the Squidora, or not anymore. And this was a semi-rare drop from a mini-boss in GA, Genetic Archives, 20-man. Now, it might exist somewhere else. I'm not aware of that if it does. My issue is this. Now, I should state, first of all, I do not have a Squidora. Just let's get that one out and in the open.
Sure you don't. Sure you don't.
Nope. This is not a case of I am miffed because I had it and now everyone has it. But I do. It strikes a question. If you've gone out and you've got yourself into GA and you've been lucky enough to get the drop on that mini-boss and you've got yourself the Squidora and people were running around a bit and saying, hey, I've got cool stuff out of a raid. That's what it's all about. Yet. Nope, let me finish. There's more than that. That's flippant. That's what it's about for some people. But to give people that level of, hey, you've got something unique. And then to say, but now we've changed the model you've already earned, made it less memorable, less colourful. It's now just brown colour. And then to take the good model, quote unquote, and give it to everyone, isn't that a bit of a slap in the face for those that have already earned it? Now, I wouldn't mind if they did something to the raid drop model to then differentiate it again. That would be okay. But the status quo, I wouldn't mind if it was never on the raid drop in the first place. I do mind it's been there to earn, and some people have earned it and then effectively have had that devalued.
Gwyn's has pointed out they've used the old model, which clipped with some Orin models. Squidor got a shiny new model, so the 20 dungeon reward is still a rare. It's not the same item. Of course, he's not done it, but he's read a fair bit on it on Reddit today. Full disclosure. Now, I want to throw out there on top of that, if you were really interested in this Haddock starter, do we have the numbers on how many people actually got this after release? Because it may not have gone out drop yet. Yeah.
I have seen people with it in live game, so it's definitely gone out.
Okay, so this is not the one that you get from... This is the strain version, not the one that you get from a quest. Because you can get a squid hat from a quest.
The only version that I have seen on live servers is the GA drop version.
So you haven't seen... Most of your guilties run around with a squid hat on their head.
No. I'm talking about the rare version. That one, yeah, no. I have seen the raid drop GA version, and that's why I'm a little bit, even if it's only a small handful of people, what they've got has changed, and effectively what it's changed to isn't seen by the majority of people by being as good. It does seem to be a devalue.
Well, apparently it got a shiny new model. I don't know whether it's just done the whole color change was suggested.
No, it's actually it's a simplified model. It's now a brown color. Most people are referring to it as a excrement-toned model. It hasn't gone down well, and it's certainly not as interesting visually as the model that's now been given away. And I've been told by Calrel87, who has politely described it as a cyan-coloured squirg with bright red eyes, and that a pair of them are on the Hazak auction house. What price are they up for, please, Calrel? I'd be interested to know.
Absolutely.
But what do you think of the principal pseudo? There is something that's attainable in a raid, and now it's
a frustrating thing,
after people have attained it.
Now, that's the thing. It's incredibly frustrating. I mean, take yourself back to the days of WoW when people got themselves Tier 2. I'm just going to go Tier 2 Paladin because it was one of the most notable and well-known visually...
But not shoulders.
Shush, let me finish. Anyway, so people got so used to seeing that model, but when they brought out the Burning Crusade, the next tier up, which was basically dungeon raid gear, was that same gear recolored. A different color. It was purple instead of red, white, and yellow. Or red, white, and gold, I should say, because nothing's ever yellow when you're a paladin. It's all gold and shiny. Anyway, that's a whole different ballpark. I'm not even going to get into it. So, but yes. Yeah, poor Mizpah's having a small little heart attack there. But anyway, when it comes to the concept of, gear being given out, I mean, I'm kind of curious because, the game has come out. People are starting to hit the content. They're starting to see certain drops. There's a well-known, people being frustrated by certain amps not being dropped. There's a well-known thing about certain professions not being finished. I'm curious if they haven't quite finished their loot roster. And I'm also really curious what is the motivation for this? I mean, if they pick this as the face hugger, as the gift, why not something else? I mean, I'd love to know what inspired them to even offer a reward in the first place. Is it because of the fact that they had so many people who came in but didn't put a retail key in? Or are they trying to do something? I mean, are they trying to just reward people? I'd love to know I would actually have to say marketing methodology behind this, their marketing madness. It's all about madness. I'd like to know that because it sucks if you've gotten something and you're all like proud about it. But now I'm hearing about people putting it up on the auction house for so bloody cheap. I'm like, I guess a lot of people weren't quite as proud to get their hands on it.
Wait.
I mean, is it more a costume decoration?
Would you like to double check that price?
Is it a costume?
I think you may have.
Or does it have stats? That's what I want to know.
That's actually a really good point that he's checking. It should have stats on it, but it could well be being used as a costume perspective.
But see, if it's a costume piece, that's one thing. If it's a piece that has particular itemization on it, which is something that you want to have and share and wear and go, I've got this, that's a whole different kind of
Okay.
Ball
We're being
game.
told it is just a costume piece.
Interesting.
Now, you just said it's being put up for so cheap. Did you actually see the costs it was going for on the Zach auction house? I have a hunch you may have misread that. Either that or you're being very sarcastic.
We'll find out. But we should...
So,
Go ahead.
one of them was up for a 25 plat buyout. The other one was up for a 50 plat buyout. Now, I don't know what Hazak's conversion rate is right now. But if I took a look at Eco's conversion rate, that was going to be 7, I think it's 7 plat for a cred. Now, it doesn't take too much to do a quick bit of maths and go...
Actually, it was 14 the last time I looked.
Was it? Okay. I was... Thursday, I think it was about 7, so it's been bouncing around.
Still not stabilized. Still too early.
No. The quick point, however, is this. Now, let's split the difference. Let's say it was 10. Now, if you convert that into real-world cost, do you really want to be spending that much on a costume piece? I mean, let alone trigger fingers. Some of the crazy costs that's still been going for.
If I was an individual who was not looking to do PvE content and have a chance to get my hands on such an option, heck yeah, I would. I know some people who put so much value into dye shopping that they have add-ons to find the right dyes from the right boxes, that they have a whole bunch of websites that have cropped up about dye, costume pieces, where to find the right coloring for the pieces, what you need in order to get the certain pieces of gear. They're more worried about how they look on their character in their pieces than they do about leveling. So in all honesty, depends on the person. Would I do it? I don't have time to do it. I don't even know everything that's in game. The game is too massive for me to sit there and go, I know every in and out of this game. It's impossible for me to do that right now. However, I will state there are people out there who would spend that much for a costume piece because to them, it's ballin'.
Okay, me personally, would have another description for that would probably get me in trouble, especially with pseudo hit. But spending, 50 quid, 60 quid, 80 quid on something just for its visual acuity, not so much. I might be tempted to do it for stats, but I'd want to earn it, not to buy it.
Oh, come on. If it's something that drops in game, there is nothing wrong with it. This is not like it's being put up on a free-to-play shop where it's like the only people who can get their hands on this are the people who have paid in-game or real money to buy it. It's not even like that. This is just the nature of a market that you don't understand because you really don't care what you look like. But you are a pink Orin, so I don't know if I should give you any credit for fashion sense at all because you have none. But,
Now, we're just getting 2 quick links in the chat, so I'm just firing these up now to see what these actually look like. Yes, we have the before and the after.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I find it, to those that aren't clicking along with the links, we'll try and make sure they're out there.
I am going to get these links in here, so yeah.
Now, it is difficult to say that the item that it is morphed to could generally be considered better than the item that it's replaced, in my personal view. Pseudo, would you disagree with that?
So this is the before picture.
Let's see what the channel thinks. Has this item been visually downgraded?
I kind of like the fact that it's relatively see-through. It makes me think of gelatin. So we've got this, and then we've got this. Something to think about. I think it depends. See, this is the problem. When it comes to things that are of a cosmetic appeal, it's going to be different for a lot of people. Some people will look at the first one and go, too much. Some people will look at the second one and go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then there are going to be other people who have the complete reverse. It literally comes down to a matter of personal preference and things like that, which makes a decision like this a little complicated. And see, Memory Dump makes a point. It's a matter of terminology. The first one was badass. The second one is sleek. Does that mean sleek is bad? For some people, yes. For other people, no.
I think my issue isn't so much the visuals, although I personally am not a fan. It's more this is a change after the fact.
Fair enough.
And
see, I can understand
I haven't
that.
yet been convinced of a cause for the change.
Well, exactly. And that's why I said I want to understand why. I don't want to sit there and just beat the thing down and go, it was the wrong decision to make, because I still don't understand why they've done it. Do I like the fact that they want to reward people for getting involved in the game? Heck yeah, it's brilliant marketing. But at the same time, did they pick the right item in which to gift people? I don't know. I mean, it's a really, really tough line. The fact that a change has been made after game, that can definitely be one of the things that you throw out there, is that this is not quite feeling good. It's a little bit salty. But at the same time, I don't know why they're doing it. I just hope, because most of the time, I say most of the time because no one is 100% perfect, and I'm not about to sit there and blow smoke up carbines, but no, not everyone is perfect. But most of the time, the decisions they make are really well thought out and planned, and there is this really good understanding and foundation for why they're making the choices they're doing. Even if we don't agree with the choice that they have made, they're still good at explaining it. We haven't really got so much of an explanation, so much as a, hey guys, guess what? You can get this. And that is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And there's mixed reactions. Avina thinks the first one looks funny. Ariel likes the second one better, but can understand why people are miffed about the changes. And an update from Hazak's ever-changing auction house. Now, apparently, it's 14 plat and 74 gold. I'll take 2. So, Pseudo.
Yes.
Where do we want to go next?
That
is, of course, the FaceSnuggler Squidora debate.
Yes,
there's a few other fixes.
I'm going to move speaking of costumes and things like that, I'm going to move into the ability for people to do crafting and the various different types of crafting that's out there. I want to let people know, for those of you who have chosen to go the technologist route, they have admitted point blank they haven't finished it yet. And if you're sitting there going, my gosh, every time we get this patch, I keep reading the notes, hoping and praying that I see the technologist stuff fixed. It's not going to happen yet. It has been fixed internally, but it's going through QA right now. Now, the fact that it's going through QA is a big thing, which means it'll be landing in a patch soon. They do not want to give an ETA, because the last thing I want to do is end up in a situation where you as a technologist can create something, and as you're creating it, realize you can sell it for Elder Gems. So they're going to have to put it through some QA. So give them a little bit of a chance on that one. But yes, it's good to know that you guys are at least getting a little bit of love.
We can't have it both ways. We were quick to jump on it and go, hey, Carbine, that's not okay. So, but the flip side is you've got to actually allow things to be tested, and that's what they're currently doing.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, we're going to see more than just itemization in there. Who knows what they're going to do with it. I'm still really looking and hoping for that to be the flask equivalent consumable items in the bottom of that tree, because that's why I took it in the first place. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Now,
speaking of Elder Gems, this is going to make Mizpah's toes curl. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if his hair did like the Barbarella thing where it went and got like really curly, because this is going to make him a happy boy. They have increased something, Mizpah, involving Elder Gems. Do you want to kind of let people know what's happened?
They have increased the amount of Elder Gems that every NPC awards instantly upon speaking to a character called Mizpah.
That is a complete and utter lie. Please do not listen. I apologize on behalf of the entire MMOBuff crew for Mizpah stepping out of line and trying to convince people to send him messages in game. Instead, if you happen to find cheese in the world, please do me a favor, log into Eco and send cheese to Mizpah. His name is really easy to figure out, and he is on the Eco server. Mail incoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, moving on from that. They have raised the cap for Elder Gems, but with a small caveat. I do believe the cap was previously 540, something like that.
Yeah, a really odd number.
It is now 2,000. But before you deposit another 500 Elder Gems and then panic because you think they've got lost in some interstellar laundromat, they're not yet displaying correctly. They are there, but you're not necessarily seeing the totals above 540. That itself will be resolved in a future patch.
Yes. Which is important. Don't panic in case you open up one of your boom boxes and you're sitting at 540 and you go, no! It's not that bad.
And indeed, that would only be 1 gem, so hey.
Yes.
Now, interesting timing on the change, because of course now we're starting to get into the post-gameplay they promised, giving us multiple ways of earning Elder Gems. I still don't think we've got all of them out there, but we do now have another set of dailies, and more things that we can do to start earning them. Now, I am yet to get to the point where I got myself thoroughly capped and sort of bringing in those Elder Gems at high speed. I need to put more effort into that going forwards. And I don't know how many people out there have hit that Elder Gem cap. Has anyone in channel managed to do it? And Caldwell is posing the question. So the cap is higher, so you don't have to spend it as fast.
I kind of agree with that. It does make an impact like that. And that actually, I have to tell you, Corel, that is something that I think a lot of people kind of forget. Every game change that occurs on some level like this has a much broader impact. And there are going to be the people who are like, shoot, I'm getting close to my cap, need to spend. Shoot, I'm getting close to my cap, need to spend. Shoot, I'm getting close to my cap, need to spend. Now you have people who have the ability to sit there and go, let me wait. I need to do some more thinking about this. Or let me see some type of testing. Or let me try and do some kind of crazy scaling mathematical spreadsheet thing. Hello, Mizpah.
Already done. I already know exactly where every one of my Elder Gems is actually being spent, in what order, and what the DPS return is for each gem that's been spent.
Where is it?
You look at me like that's strange.
No, I'm looking at you. Where is it? So we can put it up on screen so people can see it.
On the Mac. I can show it to you next week. Easily done.
Next week!
The simple version is, if you are a spell slinger, you want to be pushing rapidly towards that third tier 8 ability. It's always conceivable that won't be the case for other classes. But
you should specify DPS, because you don't know how to heal at all.
No, nor do I wish to know how to heal at all. I just simply make sure I don't stand in the red stuff so healers don't hate me and concentrate on DPS.
Doesn't save them.
No, but it does stop the healers shouting at me quite so much.
Fair enough. You're lucky I haven't had to heal you. I've only had to heal you once.
Indeed. But no, certainly if you're a spell slinger DPS, you're going to want to put those points into getting your third tier 8. If you are another class, it's possible it would work out another way, but I'm not sure that's likely. Looking at things like amp points, nice, but not as nice, and a lot of the other stuff falls under utility, having more complete sets to switch between and things like that. Mm-hmm. But certainly for me, it's going to be all about lots and lots and lots of points, which I don't have yet. And it's, like 34 weeks to get past that point, I think. Something like that with the weekly cap. Of course, the weekly cap won't be needed because now we're starting to get more ways to get them, so we'll have to see. I still think it's a good 2 to 3 months away, though, to be done with what I'm going to call the essential purchases, those that relate directly to character power.
It'll be interesting to see, but I do like the fact that it does take time. You can't just run out of the gate and have all the stuff and then go. No. It's kind of nice.
Yep, and that's pretty viable as well. Now, something else that popped up, not of great importance to me, but you may know a little more about it, Pseudo. Dyes. Apparently there's a bit of a bug with dyes.
Oh, good grief. Yes, this is interesting to me. Like I said when we were discussing things earlier about the square cat, the face hugger, which just makes me think of aliens. But anyway, there is this bug that is a known bug. And the known bug is you're playing around with the dyes at the Protostar dye vendor. You're messing around with your gear and you're looking at the preview and you're like, I like the way that looks. You click OK and then you go to look at your character and it looks nothing like what it showed in the preview. The colors are off. It's not quite 100%. Now, what's interesting about this is the fact that this was recognized by Carbine when someone pointed it out and they went, yeah, we knew that this was occurring, but it was only occurring to NPCs. We didn't think it was occurring to players. But considering the fact that a player, stepped up and said, hey, can you check this out for us? What they said was, this is going to move up in the priority list of things to be fixed, which is interesting because they're looking at a costume, cosmetic kind of thing as a high priority or a higher priority fix than you might think of from somewhere else. It's not a matter of it's affecting your statistics, because it doesn't. It's not affecting anything other than the fact of how you look. And I find that interesting.
It's obvious why.
Go ahead.
Obvious why. In terms of the fact that the actual dyeing mechanic is one of the gold sinks. And it's quite an expensive gold sink. I've clicked around on it and gone, what happens if I make myself look like this? And click all the pink dyes. no, I'm not spending 43 gold to do it, cancel. And that's been about my experience of the Protostar Die Merchant. No, I'm not spending that much gold just on messing around with how I look. But if someone, of course, makes a decision going, "Right, I'm going to spend a third of a plat, click," and it doesn't get what they expect, yeah, I can see that as being an issue.
Yeah.
And it's not so much an issue to do with the dies, it's an issue towards someone says, I'm going to give you X percentage of my gold in return for this outcome. And then the outcome isn't the one you were expecting. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. See, I agree with that. But I do like the fact that they've recognized it and they are giving attention to it. So for those of you who've tried to create yourself to look like a Mighty Morphin Power Mizpah, and you have realized that you can't, patience, a fix is coming, and it is a high priority.
There you go. Not that I can imagine anyone actually wanting to do that. Right. Let's see what else we have. But before we do this, we're going to bounce this one out to the channel, I think. Is there anything that you guys have experienced in the last week or so? Any thoughts that you have from the Blight and Northern Wastes that you want to bring up? Anyone got lost in the Globellum yet, etc., etc.? Let us know if there's anything you want. Maybe. Anything that you want us to pick up and run with at this moment in time, and we certainly can. Now, I'm going to bring one up and just to discuss. Where do we think people are at in the generality of the attunement race cycle, whatever you want to call it? We seem to be on Eco at the point where a lot of guilds are now reaching the end of the dungeons phase and moving into the open world phase. I wouldn't say all. I found that's maybe not true. I'd say maybe about half the guilds. I've got a thread on the Eco forums where we're tracking raid progression and all the guilds that are recruiting. And so people are posting in there going, we're at this state, we're at that state, we're at the other state. And so we get a quick overview of those people that are active on the forums. But they're still making balancing changes. Now, it could well be these balancing changes reflect precisely where they want the game to be. And that's fair and reasonable. But some of the changes are now making things a little harder. Stew Shaman is probably the best example of this. Stew Shaman used to have, in fact, shall I elaborate, or do you want to jump in, Pseudo? Elaborate on what the Stew Shaman is and does, for those that don't know? Okay, Stew Shaman is the first boss who talks like this, man, when you walk onto the island Skullcana. And, of course, this is one of the things you need to do on Silver, on Vet level of 50 for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th step of the achievement key, something like that. So you've got to get Skullcano, and you've got to do it on Silver or Gold. Fair enough. Now, what we used to do with the Stew Shaman was have people cast some very quick interrupts in pairs, and to stop him getting an ability allowing him to eat food in the first phase of the fight. And as long as you could hit all 5 interrupts without missing one of them, you could take away his big scary Telegraphs of Doom in that first phase. It took a bit of coordination, but it was quite doable with a bit of practice. Push straight into the second phase of the fight, and once you've done that, as long as you can stand out of the red stuff, the fight's basically done. So there you go. No problem. Now, they've now changed it. The interrupts on Stew Shaman, and now it's 1 interrupt, followed by 2 interrupts, followed by 3 interrupts, followed by 4 interrupts, followed by 5 interrupts, and you're very quickly going to get to a point where I think you're always going to have to do the first and the second phase twice. Now, it might be this is entirely what they actually were planning on in design mechanics. It might be that the speed of the interrupts was such they'd never expected people to push through into phase 2 without returning to phase 1. Fair enough. But now we have this bit of a split dichotomy. We've got the guilds that were racing and pushing ahead, and there's a few examples of this, have got through things like the world boss phase where you could kill bosses repeatedly, or the dungeons phase where now some bosses are actually significantly harder, but they're already past that step.
Well, think about
And
it.
so,
You've got the complete dichotomy of what most people expect in a game, okay? You've got the people who've made it through first. Now a change has occurred, which means there is that whole that you can't in this situation. You can't sit there and go, "I'm better than you because I did this before the game was nerfed." No, they've made the dungeons harder.
it's an anti-nerf.
It's an anti-nerf. So for those who made it through, everyone else who comes afterwards could go, "You guys did it when it was easy." I mean, come on, how many games do that?
No, not many. And there were plenty of people going, yeah, but they'll take achievement away later. Yeah, they'll just nerf the dungeons. Yeah, they'll do that. We're not seeing it. In fact, we're seeing the opposite. And, from someone who is,
Anti-nerf
partway
is
on
a
that
buff.
curve, partway through that curve, yeah, it might be a little frustrating. But you know what? From a mindset perspective, I would far rather see that and take on the game the way it was intended. Yes, anti-nerf is indeed a buff, but it's I'm going to call it an anti-nerf because it's not as if they're casting something on us. They're doing the opposite of the nerf that we anticipated. So I'm going to have to send that one into the Oxford English Dictionary and see if I can get them to add it to the list. But your thoughts, Pseudo. Should they do this? Should they not?
Oh God, yes. I mean, this is the thing. If they're realizing, and leave it to the people of the world, no product ever created is going to be 100% tested until the whole world is thrown at it. And even then, there's always going to be someone who comes along and goes, hey, have you thought about this? If they intended it to be more difficult than it is, and they now went, ooh, we kind of made it a little too easy, my hat goes off to them for going, my bad, let's do this right now. And I like that. I also like the fact that they're paying attention to how these bosses are being killed. They're paying attention to the people who are starting to run in the veterans, the people who are doing those gold runs, those people who are doing the silver runs. And they're not just looking at it from the perspective of, hey, are these guys just well coordinated? They're looking at it from the perspective of, is the boss doing what it's supposed to do the way we intended it? And if not, why? And that to me means that they're so worried about ensuring that the quality of the content at the end meets with what they believe is hardcore. Then awesome. Absolutely awesome. Because what they could do is they could just go, we screwed up. We'll just leave it like that and everyone can do it that way. But they didn't. They didn't do that. They took it the other way, which means they want there to be a certain level of difficulty. And if it's not there, they're not going to nerf it. They're going to anti-nerf it. They want people to work for everything that they get. And I, for one, stand directly behind that statement going, hear, hear.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple of things that could be going on here. Let's take that Stu Sharman example. You can make the argument that to hit every one of those interrupts, and these are some of the fastest casts you'll see, they're pretty instant. By the time there isn't time, for example, for someone to call them out on voice comms when you react to it, you actually have to see it and be casting it. It is too tight. For a whole group to hit every single one of them in a coordinated fashion, well, you are displaying some pretty good gameplay right there, let's be honest. It might be pretty trivial to some people that have raided forever, but for people coming into it new, it's a reasonably big ask. And I think all the groups I've been in, where people aren't used to it already, there's been a few runs to get that right. It's not just instantly happened. But more to the point, although we might be displaying good gameplay, it's not as if it's let's walk down the side of the eggs and not have them blow up or anything like that. They're using alternate skills in the group.
So much. I hate eggs.
I wonder why. But they decided we're not displaying the skill set that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this, I think, will probably go back to the leveling and attuning as a learning experience statement. So that probably every fight is designed to make sure that people have a particular skill, a particular capability.
Exactly.
And we can expect to see that reintroduced in raiding. Now, it could well be that what we're supposed to be doing under Stu Sharman, if we don't make sure that people can do that, they'll fall over later. What would be really interesting would be to know why from a design perspective. Is it because of skill X, i.e. dealing with there's a particular telegraph, it's a particular telegraph I've only actually seen there, where a cross comes down and then moves 45 degrees, and then moves 45 degrees by planting itself down each time with a pulse that will pretty much one-shot you, while at the same time you're tethered to the middle. So you have to alternate shooting the middle part, moving out and in with the cross and stuff. It's quite a fun little telegraph. It will, if you don't know what it's doing and know how to deal with it, you will die. Or if your group does not all switch DPS to that, you will die. So there's some quite specific things in there. Or is it a case of they looked at the percentage of people completing it and went, no, that's not what we expected, right, tweak. We don't know why. I'd love to know why. I'll put that question and that example in the bag for asking in the future.
That's what I was going to suggest. We'll definitely have to go in there, and the next time we get together with them, we'll have to ask them. Because it'll be a really interesting thing to learn about, because, we've already heard their response to, can you make this easier? No. So the question is, what do they see the bar as being so that they can make the judgment call of whether something is too easy or not? And maybe their intention was for them to witness the first phase of the fight twice. Maybe that was their intention for whatever reason. And either way, it'd be fun to ask them.
Yep.
Hardcore.
Although I'm now already wondering, can you actually build up the interrupts in a group to actually let you get a phase where you can get those 6 interrupts off? I think will be needed as a minimum. It's worth looking at. Again, lasses.
You need to
They are becoming interesting.
You need to work on your math, but that's okay. You use spreadsheets that can do the math for you.
Yes. I'm actually not sure. I was actually trying to recall how many times you actually had to interrupt in that phase. That's the bit I can't remember.
Fair enough.
And it must be more than 5, else groups could still go through it just by stacking interrupts quite easily. Now, something else has come up. A few people are commenting that you're still having to reset settings.
Ah, yes, this is a fun one. For some unknown reason, which may be known by the time we finish this conversation, there was a change made to the add-ons and to Apollo itself. And it's interesting because it's caused issues with quite a few people, like quite a few add-ons, because folder locations have changed. For example, we had a guild member who had WildStar installed on his E drive, but for some reason the add-ons were showing up on his C drive. What? So, it's interesting that something has occurred and they've made a decision as to whether or not this is going to be fixed or changed or if this is a permanent thing. Do you have any insight on that?
A little. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the API got updated from one number to another. I think it went to 8. I can't quite recall right now.
I believe it's 8.
There's an element in there that says this is where we go to get add-on data. Now, usually you go %app data, % on a Windows box, and that will take you to a default path. Now, it looks as if the way that path was encoded changed. Carol's pointing out the same thing. Windows app data folder. So it's probably a permanent change. It's probably in line with the Games for Windows guidelines that have put out there for lots of various reasons. But it does mean that a lot of people have had to take a folder with their add-ons and copy it into another folder or set them all up again. Now, if you do that once, then you log out the game cleanly without crashing out. That bit's important. That hopefully will stop people having to reset settings again. So hopefully not too much of a problem. You can, of course, turn around and hard code if you know what you're looking for. Hard code where your add-ons sit yourself. But unless you've got a particular reason not to have stuff under app data, there's no real advantage to it, no matter where your WildStar is.
Hardcore hard code.
Yeah, and as Carol's pointed out, the way that they are getting to the subfolder of that, the name has changed for some reason. I'm not sure how they generate that name. It looks like a string of random characters, but it's not. It's based off something. Again, I might put that one into the questions bag. It probably wouldn't take too much digging around in the Lua code to work out exactly why it's working that way. And just not something I've spent the time to do. I could cheat and just ask Jarnod.
You could. Why not? Cheat and ask.
Right. I think that is the roundup of all that has been happening.
Yes. I have a friend.
Is there anything else? Really? You have a friend?
I do.
In game, out of game?
It's the one that bit my finger.
I wouldn't call that a friend.
Some friends share by biting. I don't know. I'm going to go with the fact that biting was done with love. So I'm going to ask you all folks out there, would you like to meet what bit me pre-show? You're going to see it anyway, but we have to go into a little bit of a backstory. Mizpah, what race are you?
What race am I? Human.
In
game, I'm Orin.
Sometimes I just kind of want to reach through the digital world and just kind of smack it. Anyway.
Reach out and touch. No?
No. Okay. No. And no, it's not a kitty. My kitty, however, for those who were wondering, is doing a lot better since we removed the piece of grass from his eye. That was a very terrifying experience. But my drops seem to be working, and his eye's in a lot better place. But no, it wasn't my kitty who bit me. My cat doesn't bite me. He drools on me. There's a whole different story. He's a really weird cat. Anyway, So I got a package today in the mail. I am a Mordash in game, and I love being a Mordash. I am a Mordash scientist, and I enjoy showing my bones to the world because it's creepy and enjoyable and fun. But anyway, I got this package in this mail today, and it just said, careful, fragile, live animal inside it. So I'm like, okay, what's this? I've got a live animal. Okay. And I opened
Someone
it up.
sent you an Orin?
I wish they did. But no, it's something else. So, like, I opened up the package to see what was inside it, and it was this, like, giant sort of, like, box. And inside the box, there was eyes looking at me. And I'm like, okay. So I opened it, and what you guys are now going to see here is a pair, or one, of a WildStar slipper. Now, that's not what bit me. The WildStar slipper is all nice and warm, and it keeps my feet nice and toasty. Foot, because I've got one. Can you fit both
feet in it?
I probably could, considering how lovely and big this is, but that's not what happened. Instead, I had, and if I delicately pull this out, I do apologize. Those of you who have weak stomachs, please turn away now. But for those of you who remember, the Mordash had an introduction, and that introduction about the Mordash showed something on a bed. And I currently have a beaker. It's a glass beaker. And inside this glass beaker is a multi-eyed thing. And the multi-eyed thing, if I try and delicately pull him out without letting him bite me, and for those of you who are listening pre-show, there is the noise you heard. But this thing is a multi-eyed beast. And I have to keep my fingers away from certain thing. It's got, its little tentacles, but it's got a big mouth. And it bit me earlier today, pre-show. And I have to say, this brightened my day like you would not believe. I have to give a humongous thank you to Suliko in chat, because I know it came from her. Because she is the goddess of all things WildStar plushie craft related. But the fact is, she sent it with a beaker. So this is going to go up on my shelves whenever I get an office set up here for a studio at my house. Because, ow, it's biting me again. Trying to put it back, it doesn't want to go back in.
Are you going to get your thumb stuck in it again?
I did actually get my thumb stuck into this, and it was kind of funny.
So there is an image which I took on a screenshot earlier.
This is my finger. The thing is eating my thumb, and my finger is stuck in the beaker. And I can't get it off. Ow. There we go. Yay. So now I just put it back so it can't attack the rest of the world, and you guys can just go ahead and enjoy the fact that you guys will get a chance to see the beakered creature.
I think the thing really needs a name. I don't think thing is descriptive enough.
I agree. We totally need to name this. So the question becomes...
Name the thing.
Name the thing. Name the thing. So get your names into us, voice at MMOBuff, or send us a tweet. I'll get a picture up properly so you can really see it up on Twitter. And you guys, help me name this. Because it's going to go right next to the picture that Katamari made of me as Lopzilla. Call it Beaky.
Beaky could be good, but I think we need to tweet.
We need to be more creative.
It's
a Mordash thing. Come on, think about it. Think about the Mordash. Let's. Oh, that's what I should do. I should totally say, Pappy, you need to name this creature for me, cause it's all lore oriented. And then, if Pappy actually names, Fred is a great name. If Pappy actually names it, I'm probably gonna cry. I'm gonna cry on stream, cause I love Pappy.
Beware the thing in the beaker.
The thing in the beaker. So I put it back into the WildStar for protection, and I pass it to my husband, who will ensure it stays in the vault so it doesn't eat me.
There we go. Right, folks and folkettes. Any last
everything?
We have covered all of the things, including the thing.
Nope. There's one thing we missed. Bots. Have you guys
Oh, yes.
noticed the spam bots disappearing slowly but surely? Have you noticed that when you log in, it gets a little bit easier for you to open your mailbox without seeing spam? Have you also noticed that multiple threads have gone up from people like Jeremy Gaffney, etc., going, we're eating bots left, right, and center? I want to take my hat off to them.
Yep.
They are doing an exceptional job, and I want to also let people know it is not an easy task to do. There is such a thing known as false positives and false negatives when it comes to doing tests, and these guys are doing everything they can to walk an incredibly narrow margin where if they go too far over, bots are going to come through, and if they go too far this way, regular players who are guaranteed good players are not going to get through either. There have been some people who have made comments that when they try to report spam from someone that they know is a spam bot and the title says, hello friend or something like that, some people have been sent messages saying, please stop reporting fake spam. Just remember, guys, it's a very delicate line that has to be walked. Don't just throw a hissy fit because your spam thing didn't get taken or you got a notification. Right back. Help them improve their heuristics testing because, honestly, that's the only thing we can do is to help them with that. So, yay! That's pretty much it.
And whereas it's easy to critique people people knock, for example, Blizz because there's still gold farmers running around. Not an easy problem to fix.
No, it's never going to be solved.
No. But they seem to be, making pretty good progress with it. I have definitely noticed a drop in those people that are trying to spam to gold seller to otherwise be annoying.
I agree.
Sure, there's been some pulse positives. Lots of pulse positives. And
I
even some
hate to
false
say
positives
this,
along the
Mizpah,
way.
but I think that might actually be a word in a dictionary, and you probably just insulted some country with nuclear weapons. Good job.
More like probably a kind of vegetarian product you'd put in a stew is the first half.
Like
I'm not
I said,
really quite sure
some
what a
famous
positive
country
is.
that has nuclear weapons.
Vegetarian positives? No. Positive should be a word. It sounds kind of cool. But they seem to be doing a pretty good job. And for much as we like to knock the fact that they're there, I think we've got to put our hands up and go, yeah, okay. There were a few false positives, but all in all, it seems to be having the desired effect. So I can't complain from the player's perspective. Good job, Carbine.
Yep, I completely agree. And I want to make certain that I stress to anybody and everybody, if you have not put an authenticator on your account, do it. There is no reason for you not. Also, if you guys have not started looking at various things to help protect you, such as password managers, be prepared. I am going to be doing a humongous tutorial here on MMOBuff very soon. It's going to go up into our YouTube site. So if you're not following us or subscribed to us on YouTube, now is a good time to get that done. And I am going to help people learn how to use multiple password managers, discussing the positives, the negatives, and of course, help people learn an awful lot about how they can keep themselves secure in gaming.
Indeed.
I'm still writing the script for it. My head just exploded. Unfortunately, I woke up today with a nasty, nasty migraine. I couldn't even move. You know what got me out of bed?
A giant WildStar slipper. But it is time, I think, to run through what's going to be up in the next week on MMOBuff.
Shows. Lots of them. Seriously. Just lots and lots of shows. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, we've got a lot of things coming up. And as long as you guys are interested in inputting your topics, they'll get even more creative. Just send us your concepts that you want us to discuss for any of the shows. Be aware that we only have one show that is not on at 8 p.m., and that's our Thursday show. We don't have a show on Sunday. It's just our Thursday show. And our Thursday show next week has an artist coming on from Elysian Shadows who's going to talk about what it takes to take concept art and move from concept to actual sprite in game. Or, for example, the actual, walls that you see, etc. We're going to be talking about that along with how do you find inspiration as an artist, because all I'm going to say is, holy cow, Patrick is a Energizer bunny when he starts talking about art. He's like, oh my God, I have to tell you all about this stuff. And let me just tell you this. And then we're going to, it's like he's this great auctioneer and he is so passionate and his artwork is mind blowing. He is an exceptional artist and he's got reasons for why. And he is willing to share it with you guys in the game industry. But other than that, all our other shows are at 8 p.m. Monday, Mizpah and I fight and argue like normal. I'm not exactly certain what we're going to be talking about because the last person who asked us to dig into something was last week, and Kami finally got a chance to hopefully watch it on YouTube and let us know. If there's anything you want us to cover, let us know as well. Tuesday, we're still debating out to who we're going to have on as a guest or not because poor Ed. That's all I'm going to say is poor Screenager. So many people, so little time. Wednesday, we have the Blizzard forecast, which is a completely new setup, has completely changed. And Friday, we have us back again. Saturday, which is tomorrow, if you guys are interested in TCGs, Infinity Wars, watch me play with Marsh. And watch Marsh as Marsh puts me in my place.
Indeed, and a quick reminder for Wednesday as well. I know we've mentioned the show, but there are going to be some more giveaways on Wednesday. There will be some Warlords of Draenor keys and maybe something else as well. So keep your eyes on social media to hear more about that coming up.
You might be able to cover for Ed. Maybe. I don't know, do you have a Scottish accent? Come on, Gustav. I don't think you have a Scottish accent. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. But, yes. Did you want to stick around and just chat with people from a post-show perspective, or are we ending?
I can hang around for a few minutes, but not too long. I have places to go, people to see, food to cook. Well, I've not yet eaten.
Well, let's do this. We want to make certain that you are fed, so we're going to go ahead and not do a post-show today because it just makes it easier. Understand to you all, Heartses. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are subscribers, do remember you do have two very special buttons, hearts and thumbs up, that you can use with reference to us. And for those of you who are helping to spread the word about us, I can't thank you enough because can't do it without you.
Most important thing for us at the moment is to get the word out there. Let people know we're around. And we can hopefully take it from there. But on that note, it is time for us to do a disappearing act. So Pseudo, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And as always, this is Mizpah for MMOBuff, signing off.